let's play World War I, 1914 through 1918. Or at least try to. We're playing the historical game, which means that we're skipping over movement and going directly into the first superior player's attack phase. The first of three. The superior player is the Central Powers player. They begin the game with 60 total crypts, 40 for Germany and 20 for Austria-Hungary. The Entente start with 46, 15 for France, 30 for Russia, and 1 for Belgium. The other markers on the track are for countries that have not yet entered the war, or countries that have no crypts like Britain or Serbia. By the way, I corrected my setup over here and placed the actual BEF specific 4-6 British unit in this hex instead of some random British 4-4 unit. And actually, the beginning of my intro, I had no unit there, so slowly correcting myself. The plan for the Central Powers, generally speaking, is to take as many of these resource centers from the Allies as possible, each worth 5 victory points apiece for the player who controls them at the end of the game. And these all start out under Allied control. So we're looking at Antwerp and Brussels, the two along the French border, and maybe even Paris, or the hex just side of Le Havre if we're lucky. I'm slurring my words. Okay, so the other plan is to build German armies and send them along the rail lines to fight the Russians in the Eastern Front. The Russians suffer double losses when attacked by Germans or any combination of Germans and their allies, such as the Austro-Hungarian units. On the other hand, the Austro-Hungarian units are pretty weak, as you can see. Their plan is to stall the Russian advance in the south, help the Germans out along the Eastern Front, protect their supply sources, which are also protect their resource centers. Vienna and Budapest, also dependent supply sources, and maybe help out. I forget, I'll have to check the rules on whether they can even enter Germany. I thought I read something about that. Anyway, I'm bound to make many mistakes. We're just going to go ahead and get started, see what happens, and have some fun and try to learn something along the way. Let's get started. We're starting in the Western Front with our first German attack, which will be against the Belgian army defending Brussels, an independent supply city as well as a resource center along this rail line. We'll be attacking with both the 2nd and 3rd German armies for a total combined attack strength of 8. They're defending with 3 in clear terrain. That's a differential of 5, and we are, as usual, starting very slowly here. And I hope to speed up as we go along, but here's a look at the table. Here's the 5 column. Let's go ahead and roll. And we get a 3, which is a 3/2. 3 losses to the attacker, 2 to the defender will apply to the defender first. They could either retreat 2 hexes or retreat a hex and spend their 1 remaining crypt. We'll do the latter. Spend a crypt, dropping them to 0, and retreat a hex. There's only one option, I believe, back here, as they have to, if possible, try to remain within the boundaries of their home nation and avoid an enemy zone of control. So they retreat a hex. We'll apply 3 losses to the Germans by spending 3 crypts. 1, 2, 3. They're now at 37, and we may advance after combat as a result of combat. We'll take the 2nd German army, and they now enter Brussels. We've gained this resource center there for now. Our next attack will be against the 5th French army, defending in clear terrain with 3. We'll be attacking with the 1st German army, a strength of 4. That's on the 1 column. And we got very lucky and roll a 2. It's a 1/2. 1/2, the French spend 2 crips to absorb losses. Germans spend 1, down to 36. The French are at 13. Our third attack will be against the French Third Army defending in rough terrain. With 3, the rough terrain provides them a +1, so they're at 4. We're attacking with the 4th and 5th German armies, a total of 8. That is a differential of 4, and we get very lucky again and roll a 1. Wow. 1/3. 1/3. 3 losses to the defender. 1, 2, 3. The French are now down to 10 crips. The Germans at 35. Finally, we will attack across the border again here, this time against the 1st French army. They're defending in a 2-strength fortification in rough terrain. So to their base of 3, we add 2 plus another 1. They're defending with a total of 6. We're attacking with 8. That's on the 2. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we roll another 1. So 1/3. Okay. The French drop another 3 crips. 1, 2, 3. This is not looking good for the French at all. And the Germans lose 1. They're down to 34. The French are at 7. Now the 8th German Army will attack across the Russian border, targeting this unoccupied fortification with the defensive strength of 1 in clear terrain. They're attacking with 4. They're defending with 1. That's a differential of 3. And on top of that, since this is a Russian hex, it's considered a Russian unit, and we'll be applying double losses. So rolling on the 3. Wow, you roll a 2. That's a 2/2, which becomes a 2/4. The Russians on the, everyone on the 1st and 2nd attack phases must, if possible, expend crips and or retreat to avoid their units being destroyed. So that means 4 direct hits to the Russian crips. That dropped Russian crips from 30 to 26. The Germans go down to 32. Next up, Austria-Hungary. Let's go ahead and try to take Belgrade, also another unoccupied fortification. It has a strength of 2 in clear terrain. We are attacking with 2. That is a roll on the 0 column. We'll go ahead and do it. Not as lucky. We roll a 5. That's a 2/1. 2/1. However, Serbia has no crips, so with the 1 loss, they must destroy their fortification, and we use one of our unused counters face down to show that the fortification's been destroyed, and there's this 2nd Russian army that apparently does not get used in the historical game. So we'll place that face down there, and we apply 2 losses to Austria-Hungary, bringing their total crips down to 18. Now they may advance after combat. They may end their movement in Serbia. It's Germany and some other countries where they're not allowed to do that due to limited mobility. Let's see. Germany, Belgium, France, or the Netherlands. And that, I think, does it for the first superior player's attack phase. Moving on to the first inferior player's attack phase. There's a special rule for the historical game that states that the allied player must conduct 2 attacks by French units during any of his attack phases of the first game turns, which I think means the first turn. There are 3 attack phases in which you can accomplish this as the French. I don't really want to attack at all, I don't think, but we must. L'offensive à outrance. So here we go. Why don't we go ahead and take care of this now, since we're running really low on crypts, and it's, I think, better now than later when we're completely out. So we're gonna try to, let's see, avoid, looks like if we're lower than the 6 column we're okay, and there's no way we would even reach that, so in that case, what does the most damage? The higher up, of course. Okay, 3, 4, 5. Can we get to a 3? No, I don't think so. I think we're looking at a maximum of 2 and a minimum of 1. Okay, so we'll do 2 attacks on the 2. Let's hit the 1st German army. They're defending with 6. We can attack with the 3rd and 5th French armies for a total of 8 to 6. And then for the 2nd, we will attack over the border here with the army of the Alsace, 5 to 2. It's a 1 strength fortification in rough terrain. So we'll start over here. First roll on the 2. And we roll a 2, which is a 1/2. Germany drops 2 crypts down to 30. We lose 1. As the French, not bad. Let's see if we can roll as well here. On the 2 again. We roll a 4, which is 3/1. Okay. So the Germans will lose 1, and the French will drop 1, 2, 3. So they're now at 3, the Germans are at 29. We're done with our mandatory attacks, and now we just have to sit tight and hold our ground as much as possible, but it's hard to do with only 3 crypts remaining. Next up, Russia. I'm thinking of making 3 separate attacks. Starting with this down here. We will be attacking with the Russian 3rd and 8th armies that have started invading Austro-Hungary. The 3rd Austro-Hungarian army is defending with 3 in the rough, brings them to a 4. We're attacking with 2 3s, so that's a roll on the 2. And we roll a 2, which is a 1/2. 1/2, they'll both spend crypts. Austria-Hungary goes down by 2 to 16. Russia spends 1. Nice roll. Next we'll be attacking this unoccupied fortification across the border in rough terrain, which has a defensive strength of 2, so that brings them to a 3. We're attacking with a 3. It's on the 0, but we're gonna go for it. Ooh, we roll a 6. Not good. 4/0. Russians spend 4, bringing them to 21. And finally, we'll be attacking this 2-strength unoccupied fortification in clear terrain. We're attacking with 3, they're defending with 2, that's on the 1. Oh, another 6. 4/0. That brings us to 17. Back to the superior player for their 2nd attack phase. Let's see what we can do in the Western Front. We'll attack the Belgian army again, and we'll be attacking with the 2nd German army. We're attacking with 4, they're defending with 3 in clear terrain, that's on the 1. We roll a 2 and get a 1/2. They must retreat 2 hexes. They're out of crypts as the Belgians. 1 for their first hex. 2. And we may advance. We may conduct a multi-hex advance. Let's first spend the crypt to absorb the loss, and then we will move the second German army along the retreat path. 1, 2. They've crossed the border. They're now in France. I'm going to use these little blue cylinders from my copy of Through the Ages to keep track of resource centers that we've taken. And then we'll move on to our second attack. Let's see what we can do. The French have 3 crypts. I think we'll do the same 3 attacks again against the 5th, 3rd, and 1st French armies. We'll start down here this time, attacking with the 6th and 7th German armies, total attack strength of 8. They're defending with 3 plus another 3 for their fortification and terrain. We're rolling on the 2, and we get, ooh, we roll a 6. It's a 4/0. Germans spend 4, bringing them to 24 crypts. Alright, well, let's go ahead and resolve this attack up here against the 5th. We're attacking with 4, they're defending with 3 in clear terrain, that's on the 1. We roll a 4, and that's a 3/1. We spend 3, down to 21 crypts for the Germans. This unit must retreat or spend a crypt. They'll spend their crypt, bringing them down to 2. Finally, the 4th and 5th German armies will be attacking across the border into this rough terrain. So we're attacking with 8, they're defending with 4, that's on the 4. And we get a 1, which is a 1/3. 1/3. The Germans spend another crypt, bringing them down to 20. We should probably apply the defenders' losses first, though. 3. So we have 2 that we can spend. That depletes French crypts for now. And then we must apply another loss as a retreat. And this is where we can see the displacement thing. So we move back a hex, displacing the 4th French army, which gets bumped back. And we may advance. We'll take the 4th over the border from Belgium into France. Finally, we'll make this attack again across the Russian border. We're attacking with 4, they're defending with 1. Losses are doubled, that's on the 3. We roll a 3, it's a 2/2, which becomes a 2/4. German crypts drop to 18. Russian crypts, since the second attack phase, they drop to 13. Now it's the second inferior attack phase, and the Russians will, let's see, we'll go ahead and attack this fortification, rolling on the 1. We roll a 4, which is a 3/1. Germans drop 1, Russians drop 3, they're down to 10. We'll do the same attacks over in Austro-Hungary as well. 6/4, rolling on the 2. We roll a 4, and that's a 3/1. Not sure if this is wise, but we'll stick to this plan. Austria-Hungary goes down 1, so they have 15 crypts now. Russia's down to 7. And then finally we'll hit this fortification, rolling on the 0. Oh man. We roll a 6, it's a 4/0. Russians lose 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're down to 3. and it's back to the Central Powers for their third and final attack phase. Things are going to start to get really ugly over here in the Western Front, especially for the French. But we're going to start with our attack up here against the Belgian army, who are defending with 3 in clear terrain. We'll be attacking with the 2nd German Army with a strength of 4, rolling on the 1. We roll a 5, which is a 3/1. 3/1. The Belgian army retreats a hex. German army spends 3 to absorb losses, brings their crypts to 14. German 2nd Army may advance and pursue while drawing supply along the coast. On to our next attack, and let me think about this. Alright, well, we have 14 German crypts, so we're going to make 3 separate attacks against the 1st, 5th, and Lorraine. So let's go ahead and start down here. We're attacking the 1st French army. They're defending in a 2 strength fortification in the rough with a strength of 3, so that's 3 + 2 + 1, which brings them to a 6. We're attacking with both the 6th and 7th German armies across the border with a total strength of 8, 8 to 6. We're rolling on the 2. We roll a 2. It's a 1/2. So this unit must retreat 2 hexes. 1, 2. We spend a crypt to absorb the loss and may advance. We'll advance the 7th Army across the border, destroying this French fortification in the process. And we will resolve our next battle up here between the German 1st and French 5th armies. The French are defending in clear terrain with 3. We're attacking with 4. That's a roll on the 1. Let's see how it works out. We roll a 4, which is a 3/1. The French must retreat a hex. And the Germans spend 3 crypts. 1, 2, 3. They may advance. Finally, our attack on the army of the Lorraine. We're attacking with the 4th and 5th German armies for a total attack strength of 8. They're defending there with 3 + 2 for the fortification and 1 for rough terrain. It's another roll on the 2. Ooh, we roll a 6, which is a 4/0. German crypts goes down to 6. We'll go ahead and attack this Russian fortification with the German 8th Army. They're attacking with 4, and the Russians are defending with 1. That's a roll on the 3 with losses doubled. We roll a 5 as a 3/1, which becomes a 3/2. German crypts go down to 3. And the Russians can spend 2. They're down to 3 as well. Or they can voluntarily destroy this fortification. This depends on what they plan to do on their final attack phase against the Austro-Hungarians or this German fortification. So they have 3 crypts remaining. If they spend 2 to protect their fortification, I don't think they'll be making any attacks here on the Eastern Front. But, yeah, we'll go ahead and spend those 2 to keep the fortification. Russian crypts are down to 1. So now we're into the third inferior player's attack phase, and I don't think we'll be doing much, if anything. However, I'm seeing that, oh yeah, the British don't have any crypts, so I don't really feel like attacking with them. They could combine with the Belgians up here. The Germans have 3 crypts. It might be tempting if it were lower, but I don't think it's worth it. So nothing happens during the third inferior player's attack phase. And we go ahead and enter the crypt allocation and build phase now. And look at the schedule on the turn track. We'll go from top to bottom. The British receive 4. And the French receive 20. And we have the Russians receiving 30. They have 1, so that brings them to 31. The Belgians get 4 as well. And Germany gets 30, bringing them to 33. And look at that. Austria-Hungary still have 15. And to that we add another 20. So they're at 35 in the lead on the track. And at this point, let's take a look. So we've allocated crypts, and we, I believe, may now build new armies starting with the allied player. Yep. And we place them in their permissible hexes of appearance, which would be along the western edge or eastern edge or their supply source cities. And then you would adjust the crypt markers. It's 5 crypts per new army built. And then the Central Powers player would build new armies. And then both players may lend crypts amongst their countries. And finally, all units and fortifications that are out of supply are destroyed. I don't think there are any. So let's start. Do we want to build armies? I mean, the French will probably need to save all of their crypts to absorb losses. And the Russians have 31 crypts. The Russians will probably build an army or 2, I'm thinking. Same as the Germans. And the Austro-Hungarians have a ton of crypts, so they might as well build an army or 2. Let's see what we can do. Alright, so we've finished building our new armies. The Allies built 2 Russian armies and placed them here and here on the board. And the Central Powers built 2 German armies, 1 in Berlin, 1 in Leipzig, and then 2 Austro-Hungarian armies, because we have all those crypts to spend mainly, 1 in Budapest, 1 in Vienna, but they can also help out the situation around their Russian border. So here's the situation on the crypt track at the end of turn 1. The Belgians and the British each have 4 crypts. The Turkish are about to enter the war, joining the Central Powers with 6 crypts. And they have a limit of 6 crypts, I believe, and can only have more if those are borrowed from other allies. The Italians have not yet entered. They will enter on turn 3. The Germans have 18. The French have 20. The US have not yet entered, but when they do, they'll have 20. The Russians are at 21, and the Austro-Hungarians at 25. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video here. And from here on out, we will definitely zoom out on the details and try to get through the game at a decent pace. Thanks for watching.